Hello and welcome to Rush, a 4-minute podcast. I'm your host, Justin Hodson, and in this episode, I take a quick look at the shifting expectations students have for what learning should look like today. So a few years ago, I was given a talk on, human technology relationships, because that's where my work situates. And one of the audience members at the time, this is like 2010, somewhere in there, asked if I thought that the changing nature of the human technology relationship was going to, how was it going to impact higher education? And what I said back then, and it's something I stand by now, is that the increasing frequency with which our media became on-demand consumer-based media, right, that I could decide when I watched, what I watched, and how much of it I watched, was going to ultimately shift how students think about their learning in higher education. That is, if I can watch my TV series, whatever the word is there, and I can stream them on my own time, and I can, look up on-demand resources when I need them from like YouTube videos or instructional guides on TikTok or whatever the case may be, then that's the world accommodating my schedule. But higher education has consistently not been that way. And it has always been on the university schedule and then subsequently on the teacher schedule. And that's fine. We have two different worlds. But when the pandemic hit, we saw a kind of blending of these values where more and more people, as they worked to do triage, as they translated their in-person class to online, many went to asynchronous models, more instructional assets that students could watch on their own, could engage in their own. And students realized that this large behemoth called higher education could, in fact, be far more accommodating to them than perhaps previously believed. And so it's not surprising to me that in the recent weeks, I've had a number of faculty and even administrative leaders who've said things like, is it me or students just not want to be in class anymore? Do they not want to do the work? Or, what is wrong with these students today? And I always remind people that students change every couple of years anyways. So not like they used to be is a given, but specifically not like they used to be after going through a pandemic. But part of it is that they've realized that their learning experiences could be more and more customized to their timeline, to their preferences. That doesn't mean that all classes are going to work in a kind of on-demand delivery. We don't necessarily think of it that way. I mean, I teach writing studies courses and rhetoric courses, and a key component of that is the modeling of inquiry, the real-time discussions, and how we negotiate idea construction and thing. Well, we can replicate some of that in distance learning models, or even in in-person learning models with augmented learning experiences online. And so, if you're an instructor today and at this point, and you're going back to a traditional structural model you held before the pandemic, teaching in almost exact same ways, you're going to find that students are expecting something else. And the more we can lean into creating learning experiences that work better for them, then the more they're going to take advantage of our time in class. And part of it is about accommodating this shift in learning, accommodating this shift in the world. But more importantly, we've also have a number of really great technologies and practices and pedagogical sort of values that we can implement in these ways to create more on-demand learning engagements for students, whether it's an instructional video that also has interactive pieces like through PlayPosit, structuring your Canvas modules in a way that build on one another around core learning principles that lead to a kind of engagement. What we have, though, is an opportunity to not just move back to the way things used to be, but to really think about what can we do today that's somewhere between the traditional expected values of what a classroom space looks like and why we need that space. And where we want these things to go. And I think it becomes really a matter of, why do I need to be in the classroom? And if I can tell you why I need to be here for this day, then I build my learning experience around that thing, around those series of engagements. And so it becomes a matter of, how can we think about crafting better content that have better built-in learning experiences? The reality is that we have students who have a different set of expectations for what is possible in higher education and what they want from their learning modalities, right? That doesn't mean they all want to be online, but the values of the online experience have opened up a space for us to think more critically about the core elements of our classroom experience versus the core elements of the learning that we're trying to accomplish, and figure out ways that we can do both in ways that are meaningful to students, but also are meaningful to our expectations and learning outcomes.